Good afternoon, Israel Briefer community from all around the world. Welcome to the Israel Brief with me, Rolene Marks, where we guys gather every single Monday to Thursday to take a look at those top stories making headlines here in Israel that you're never going to see in your mainstream media. As always, we chat through your audience questions. And because it's Thursday, I will announce your choices for the mensch or mensches and morons of the week. Is there such a thing as we guys? Anyhow, it seems that the heat wave, which has been called the sizzling Sodom, I mean, that is quite a name. I want to be in the naming room when they come up with these names. Seems to be abating a bit over the weekend, but I tell you, we are all frazzled here in Israel. It has been extremely hot. Thank you for everybody for answering my question about how you measure the temperature in Fahrenheit. Much appreciated. You see, that's what I love. I love that we chat to each other. So near and so far, but always together. It is day 678 since the 7th of October. And as I remind you, every single day, we still have 50 hostages that are being held captive by Hamas and other terror entities in the Gaza Strip. We want every single one of them back now. Just 2 nights ago, and I think I brought you the story yesterday, the mothers of some of the hostages that are still living, along with the consulting doctor to the Hostages and Missing Persons Forum, presented a letter to the World Health Organization President, Dr. Tedros Ghebreyesus, and to the Red Cross, describing the horrific physical and emotional and mental condition that our hostages are likely in, including possibly having scurvy and losing about 50% of their body weight. Time is of the essence. We saw that horrific footage now nearly 2 weeks ago of Eviatar David and Ram Braslavsky. We need every single voice out there because it seems that the world has forgotten. So let's take a look at those top stories, and we begin in Toronto, where the Toronto International Film Festival have received a barrage of outraged correspondence and condemnation. So what am I speaking about, you guys ask me? Well, the TIFF, that's the Toronto International Film Festival, made the decision not to screen the documentary The Road Between Us, The Ultimate Rescue, which is the extraordinary story of retired General Noam Tibon and how he rescued his family on the 7th of October. It is an incredible story. There have been interviews with General Tibon. I think if you Google Noam Tibon, N-O-A-M, and his surname is T-I-B-O-N, it really is worth your while to hear his absolutely remarkable story. Well, despite airing 5 Palestinian films at the TIFF, the organizers said that, you got to wait for this one, guys. This will have your jaws on the floor. They said they cannot screen the documentary about the 7th of October because they hadn't received permission to use the footage from the Hamas Nukba forces. First of all, let's remind the TIFF of a few things. There are no legal barriers here. I'm not a lawyer, I don't even play one on TV, but I can tell you for sure there are no legal barriers here. First of all, Hamas and other terror groups proudly streamed their murder and rape rampage for the whole world to see. So once it's out in the public domain, there are no legal barriers. Second of all, who do you contact? Hi, can you please put me through to the legal department for copyright of Hamas? It is absolutely preposterous. It's absolutely preposterous, which is exactly what Canadian MPs said, journalists said, Jewish organizations from the far left, like J Street, to the center, to the right, to every sane person who has seen this ruling have said this is absolutely outrageous. And for Jews, it feels like yet another attempt by a cultural entity to erase Jewish or Israeli artists and history from the stage. Many of you might not be aware that Jews and any Zionists or Israelis are routinely excluded from panels, from film festivals, from publishers, because of the fact that we are Zionists. Now, my shirt says Zionism is a human right, which is exactly what it is. It's the belief that Jews have the right to return to our ancient homeland, the land of Israel, now the state of Israel. It is the only Jewish state in the world. There are 57 Muslim states in the world. This is the one Jewish state, and it's our ancestral and historical homeland. And in today's world, it is the right of Israel to exist. It's the simple belief. So if you're out there and you believe that Israel has the right to exist, Mazal Tov, congratulations, you are a Zionist. Well, apparently, due to the outcry, the TIFF has now reversed its decision, releasing a statement earlier today saying they are working with the filmmakers to see how they can meet the screening requirements. But I think with all the pile on, they have now made the decision to reverse it, and the movie will be shown. The Foreign Minister Gideon Sa'ar tweeted out yesterday, you know, nobody asked Hitler for permission to share the footage that the Nazis had taken, that liberators had taken of Auschwitz. It is absolutely preposterous. But guys, this is where we need you so badly, is that when this kind of injustice, which is happening all too regularly today, rears its ugly head, please join us in raising your very important and very powerful voices. In other news, families of hostages still alive and still held captive by Hamas are suing the president of the International Criminal Court, Karim Khan, for assisting Hamas and obstructing justice. So the lawsuit, which is for about 20 million shekels, is being led by Shurat Adin, that's the Israeli law office, and they will be taking Karim Khan, who is already under investigation for alleged sexual harassment. They will be filing suit against him. Now, we don't know the details, like what has led to this filing, but I think we can see how Khan has focused specifically on Israel, ignoring the horrific atrocities committed by Hamas, not issuing warrants for Hamas basically allowing Hamas their crimes to go unpunished. So we're going to be following this lawsuit very, very closely. The French Minister of Transportation has confirmed that he has suspended an air traffic controller in the airport in Paris, I think it was Charles de Gaulle Airport, for saying to El Al pilots as they were coming into land, free Palestine. The minister has said that the offending air traffic controller has been suspended and that the discipline will be fitting the crime. His words, not ours. Meanwhile, El Al released a statement condemning the chanting of free Palestine and said that they will continue to fly around the world with the flag of Israel proudly displayed on the tails of all their aircraft. And finally, this is quite a technical topic, so I'm going to read to you basically the news gathered around this. And this was very, very cleverly spotted by the Washington Free Beacon and the US's ambassador to Israel, Ambassador Mike Huckabee, and that is that the UN very, very quietly reduced the indication of threshold that they determine famine, and this is in order to accuse Israel of famine in Gaza. So it goes to show just how corrupt the UN is. And now we had something similar with Ireland, who petitioned to change the definition of genocide because morally, technically, and ethically, Israel is not committing genocide against the Palestinians. Genocide has a particular legal definition, as apparently does famine. So what we know is that previously the factors required for a famine classification was the combination of 20% of households facing extreme lack of food, 15% of children suffering from acute malnutrition, and the non-trauma deaths of either 2 adults or 4 children per 10,000 of the population per day. However, per the alert, the child malnutrition threshold was lowered from 30% to 15%. In other words, it was halved, and showed them to be suffering from acute malnutrition. A source from within the aid sector told the Beacon that this constituted a pretty big shift in the IPC standard, claiming that the agency is lowering the bar or trying to make it easier for the famine determination to be made. And another finding that was published yesterday was that the deaths that Hamas and the Hamas-controlled Ministry of Health in Gaza, that the world media and world leaders like Anthony Albanese are absolutely eating up, that the deaths that Hamas have claimed are due to malnutrition are actually due to pre-existing conditions. So this whole nonsense that Israel is deliberately starving Palestinians is nothing short of an egregious and despicable blood libel. But you know what I believe, guys? The wheel of justice moves slowly, but it does move, and justice does prevail, and the truth also eventually comes out. And even though we are facing a tsunami of being accused of every possible evil, the truth is emerging, and that is why I'm so proud to bring you the Israel Brief, because on this channel you're going to get truth and facts, no filters, and dare I say it, no bullshit. Right, that over, let's take the audience question of the day. It comes from Jenna in Melbourne. Oh, I do love me some Melbourne. And it's, what is the latest in the hostage deal? Okay, so we had a little bit of excitement earlier today because it was published that David Barnea, he is the head of the Mossad, was meeting with the Qatari President Mohammed Al Thani. However, apparently this is not due to hostage negotiations. That's due to other issues. So what we do know is that Israel's demands are, we are not settling for partial hostage releases. We want all of our hostages non-negotiable. And we do know that there are Palestinian factions that are meeting in Cairo, in Egypt, to try and push for a ceasefire. Now, like him or loathe him, disagree with his plan or don't disagree with his plan, one of the interesting things that I've picked up and that the media and that world leaders have not seemed to notice is that since the Prime Minister announced his plan to take over Gaza City, we've seen Hamas scuttling back to the negotiation table. Remember, they withdrew from negotiations once French President Macron announced that he will be recognizing a Palestinian state. So is this brilliant strategic maneuvering by Prime Minister Netanyahu? Is the world getting hysterical as they always do in all things Israel? Let's see what happens. And now for the moment of the week you love, I love, hey guys, I just love being in your company, and that is, who are the mensch/menschers and morons of the week. So let's start with the morons, because it's always good to end the weekend on a high, and this seems to be quite unanimous from a lot of my Aussie friends, and that is Prime Minister Albanese for going against 80 years of bipartisan foreign policy and basically unilaterally saying that Australia will recognize a Palestinian state. And it's not a good look, Albo, when you are praised and lauded by Hamas. I did like somebody calling him Elbow Akbar. I thought that was quite funny. Other morons include Madonna for writing to the Pope asking him to go into Gaza to speak to the children and completely neglecting to mention Israeli children who have suffered, and of course the hostages. Not a good look, Madge, not a good look. The Toronto International Film Festival, for this absolute shambles of the way that they have handled the documentary The Road Between Us, The Ultimate Rescue. You are absolutely ridiculous and you should be ashamed of yourself, and your sponsors should pull their sponsorship. And going to South Africa, the IOL, the Independent Online, for publishing the names of, I think it was about 15,000 Palestinian children who have been allegedly killed by Israel, with no source where they got the information, no confirmation, and no writer, no journalist that can be attributed to. Forgetting that there are studies of the casualty numbers, and if you all Google questionable counting by Andrew Fox, you can see how researchers have used Hamas's own data to disprove the numbers of casualties. It's a document everyone should go through. And your mentions of the week: Australians for standing up against their government and saying that this government does not represent us. We stand with Israel, and maybe the government should focus on all things Australian. And my personal choice is you guys, my Israel Brief community. You are with me through thick and thin. And I've said it before, but it can't be said often enough, how much strength you give me and you give so many of us in Israel and Jews around the world who feel that we have been transported back to the 1930s and that we are routinely demonized for and accused of every conceivable evil. You stand with us. You take the time to learn the truth. You share your concerns. You share your prayers with us. And you hold us up in our darkest, darkest hours. So thank you, Israel Brief community. And God bless you from the bottom of my heart to all of you. So guys, that's a wrap for this week on the Israel Brief. Please don't forget that if you like this content, share, subscribe, like, do all the things you need to do on our channel, which is right here at the Israel Brief, on Facebook at Lottle's site, on LinkedIn at Raylene Marks, on Instagram at Raylene_Marks. What am I forgetting? On our website at layoftheland.online and on X at layoftheland5. Guys, God bless you all. Have a wonderful weekend. Shabbat Shalom, and I'll catch you again on Monday. Bye for now.